And talking listening, that's funnily enough what we're talking about today with our life coach. Hi, Harold. How are you?
Hi, Trudi.
We are, funnily enough, talking about being a good listener and 6 ways to listen that will make you a better partner and a better co-worker. So let's get into it. Is it fair to say that most people are poor listeners?
Well, when it comes to communicating, I think it's fair to say that most people treat listening as a passive activity, sort of that notion, if I'm not talking, then I must be listening. Well, listening is a skill, just like presenting is a skill. And yet in communications courses and programs and companies, we put far more emphasis on how to present a point of view and far less emphasis on how to take in another person's perspective by listening more actively. We use that word mindful a lot in business these days, Trudi, and listening is an important component in being more mindful, more present in conversations at home and at work. And so I just often suggest that if a colleague comes in to your office and says, hey, I'm about to present something important, and can you listen to this? It might be helpful to get used to asking the question, how do you want me to listen in this conversation?
You can actually be an active listener by choosing 6 different listening styles to be a better communicator. Can you talk us through those?
Yeah, the first one is one where you are just basically listening with compassion. There are times when people will come into your office, might be a friend who comes over to visit, and they are talking about something heavy, something that, daunting that they're going through. Sometimes the biggest challenge is not to say anything, but to just basically, a statement like that must have been tough. I've been there, I've been in your shoes before. Things like that where people just need you to listen to hear them. They don't want you to do anything. They just need you to listen. The second component or style is listening to reflect. And this is when you listen to reflect, you're serving as a mirror to the person. They may be too close to a situation to really sort of hear how they're coming across to other people. So you might say something along the lines of, is that what you really mean? You sound pretty extreme in that position. Is that how you really feel about it? And that way it can give a person an opportunity to calibrate. And then there's the listening for assumptions. Sometimes a person may be taking a pitch to a particular audience, and it'd be helpful for you to listen to see if there's anything that person is seems to be taking for granted. An example of listening for assumptions would be something along the lines that it sounds like our older customers won't mind the shift to younger styles. Is that a fair assumption? So you're just basically listening to be able to test assumptions with the person. The fourth style, Trudi, is a bit trickier. It's listening as the contrarian. And so you have to get permission to listen with this style, because what it means is that you're listening as the opposition, and that you're going to be sort of hitting back with all the holes that you hear in their argument. And that can be very, very helpful, particularly if the team tends to have safe and cautious conversations. The fifth one is listening for balance. There are some people who think more in terms of what's possible. So you might be listening for balance in terms of, do we need to infuse a little bit more practical reality into this presentation? It might be that a person is just rigidly locked onto a position, and you just need to help them see that there's a balanced perspective. And then finally, the sixth is listening for the system, and that is sometimes we can get real myopic when we're trying to present a point of view. And it might be helpful for someone on the team to actually sit back and listen for all the ramifications that might take place as a result of a decision we're making. So those are the 6 listening styles, and very often you can have people on a team actually take one of those roles so that everybody is listening more actively and helping to build a more effective presentation.
That's great for the co-worker relationship, but I guess listening more crucially would make you a better partner, better relationship.
It is absolutely the case very often. The case when 2 people are sort of going at each other hard, Trudi, where they actually are not listening to learn, they're actually listening to refute. And so a key to connection and empathy is to just really listen to a person and listen to their perspective. It doesn't mean that you have to lose ground. It doesn't mean that there has to be a winner or a loser. But this notion of really connecting through deeper empathy often is enhanced by just listening to another person.
Yeah, it's not just about closing your mouth and being quiet, like you say, Harold. I guess a good tip would be to have a piece of paper there and write something down as they're talking to perhaps let them finish and then be able to have your say.
Yeah, no, that is a good way of being more purposeful about it. It's sort of like if listening is not your dominant hand, to your point, just remind yourself when you're going into an important conversation, whether it be at home or at work. Before you start the conversation, do I have both of my ears turned on? Am I ready to actually hear another person's perspective? Again, if you approach it from the viewpoint of there isn't a winner or a loser, or right or wrong, it's just a matter of perspective, it makes it easier. It makes it easier to connect.
You're very easy to listen to. What happens if you've got a reputation as a poor listener? What can you do about it, Harold?
Again, it's probably not your dominant hand, so you want to get feedback from some folks about how you can, whether that be at home or whether that be at work. In terms of just having people help you be more conscious of when you are about to interrupt them, or when it looks like you are no longer absorbing another person's point of view, but trying to refute it. So it's just building greater self-awareness around it. Get some people at either at home or at work to just give you a few more cues that will help you be more cognizant about it.
Any final tips before the news at 1, Harold?
I would say that, compassionate and reflective listening typically travels with higher emotional intelligence. There are some people who are just a bit better at it, but again, it is a skill. You can build it.
Love it. Thank you. And we really do appreciate your time here on the program, your life coaching skills, Harold. And like I say, very easy to listen to. A nice voice too.